Have you ever wanted to put together your very own Batsuit, just like this, completely from scratch, but have had no idea where to start? Well, stick around because in this video, I'm gonna give you a detailed breakdown of how I did just that. Welcome back everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a little while since my last video. If you're new to the channel, thank you so much for joining me. Please hit that subscribe button because I do tons of Batman content and I've got a lot more cosplay breakdowns and tutorials coming up, and I would love to see you stick around because I really love talking about this stuff. Today specifically, we're gonna be diving into my full Batsuit from the Batman, and I'm gonna be giving you guys an as detailed a breakdown as I possibly can about how I got certain parts, where I got certain parts, budget constraints, alternatives, screen accuracy, basically anything and everything you can think of and that I had to kind of mentally go through when I was putting this together, I'm gonna cover in this video. After I saw the Batman for the first time and I absolutely fell in love with this suit and the world Matt Reeves created, I desperately wanted to try and throw this together. And I had zero experience in cosplay, absolutely none. And I've probably jumped into, or I did jump into what is probably one of the most complex or in-depth starting points as you possibly can. There are much easier cosplays or Batsuits you can attempt to do first. I want to talk about each individual aspect of the suit in as much detail as possible so that you can get a broad idea or a broad scope of each individual piece. The screen accurate part. Screen accuracy is a little bit of a murky term because over time, what was determined to be screen accurate, especially in regards to the Batman suit, it changed a lot over time. A lot of the information that I'm going to be drawing on today is going to be from the main RPF forum guide for the Batman. I'm going to leave a link to that in the description because as I was assembling this suit myself, or as I was, researching all the different parts of it, I relied very heavily on that. And I thought in terms of, one of the main desires behind wanting to make this video was to try and condense as much of that information into an easy to follow guide so that if you wanted to build your own, you can follow like a little step-by-step. Couple of housekeeping items before we get really deep into it. There's going to be a lot of links and a lot of makers and creators and things that I want to reference, and all of my recommended products as far as like accessories go, all through Amazon and stuff, some of which I've either purchased myself or if they're no longer available, they're items that I would just recommend you buy because they're as close enough to the screen used or film accurate pieces as you can get, rather than like overwhelming the YouTube description with just links, that looks a bit messy and a bit spammy. I'm gonna nest them all on my beacons page, so you can head over there. So anything I mention about links, products, or good alternatives, etc., I'm gonna have it all set up on my beacons page, which the link for that will be in the description below, along with maybe a couple of other links. I just don't want to overwhelm the description with like spam. But very small disclaimer aside, let's get into it. So I'm gonna go detail breakdown of piece by piece, starting with the boots, working our way up to the top, and yeah, we'll go from there. Alrighty, so first things first, we're gonna start with the boots. The main boots that Pattinson wears in the film are actually these bad boys right here, those beautiful big beefy boots that we see in that entrance scene. These are the CAS-03 combat boots, and these are actually like an Austrian Army combat boot. And you can actually pick these up on eBay. This is where I found my set. So these do come secondhand, but they're in really good condition. And I think most military or army boots, you can actually beat them to high hell and they'll still be, perfectly fine. They're really solid boots. You'd have a really hard time destroying them. But because they're secondhand, they already come pre-weathered and they kind of look like they've been kicking around Gotham, for the last 2 years, just like Pattinson in the film, which was really convenient because it meant I didn't have to do any of my own weathering work or paint work or scuffing them up or anything. These are really comfortable as well. Like I've never had any issues. I've been in the suit for 4 or 5 hours at a time, which I know is not that long, but again, they're designed for guys in the army. So, they'd want to be comfortable and keep your feet pretty protected. Now, if you can't get a set of these on eBay in your size, because it is size dependent, I think this guy who I got them from must have a line to some kind of like military surplus, something or other. So the sizes do come in and out from time to time. If you can't get your size there, if you just punch in that name, Austrian or the CAS03 combat boots, punch that into Google. It'll come up with a bunch of items. Some of them might have a different name, but they're actually the exact same boot. Like I think Austrian Alpine Ranger boots is another name you'll see them fall under there on Google, but effectively the same boot, as long as they have like this kind of like the dots on the side here and like this kind of this yellowy top edge bit to it, they're basically the same boots, or there's some other really, really close alternatives out there. Now, speaking of alternatives, another version or another option that you've got for boots are actually these ones right here. Now, these are the TCX Heroes, and the reason why these are another really good option is because when the set photos were releasing, before we got any trailers or any other, close-up looks at the Batsuit, the stuntman, and I think the main stuntman who did a lot of the work on the Batman was Rick English, actually. He was wearing these boots here, and that's why a lot of people, like over on the RPF forums and elsewhere, were like, oh, the official screen use boots must be these ones. And these are actually, if you're looking for best bang for your buck, these are probably going to be a bit better because these are a really good everyday boot. Like I wear these almost, a couple times every single week whenever I go out and about. And yeah, they're just a really good, comfortable boot. I mean, if you're a motorcycle rider as well, extra bargain. Well, that's what they're made for. They're motorcycle boots, effectively. So you've got your actual official screen use ones, your CAS03 Austrian Army boots, or your TCX Heroes. Now, they're your two kind of main screen accurate, I say, options. But if you're looking for something that's a little bit cheaper, there's definitely other versions out there. If you just put in like black combat boots or something, you can definitely find stuff that's in a lot lower price range than these here. So again, it depends on your budget. It depends how much you care about your screen accuracy, comfort, everyday use, all those sorts of things. But yes, they're my two main picks if you're looking for boots. Alrighty, next up we have the boot gaiters or boot spats or boot covers. There's a bunch of different names for this here. And this is effectively it's like a wraparound piece. It's like a wraparound bit of leather that kind of like just sits, it covers the laces, effectively this part of the boot here. Only a very small part of the suit, but it really helps tie the whole thing together, of course. Now, I got a set of these from Ninko Creations, who does a lot of really, really beautiful work. I've got a couple of items from Ninko, and I'll detail those later on. But yes, these are beautiful. They're made with real leather. They zip up at the back, which is nice and easy. Now, the actual screen accurate ones in the film, they don't zip up at the back, at least. Well, they probably do, but at least in the one shot where we see where he's walking towards Penguin in the flipped car, you can see the back of the boots and there is no zipper, at least visible. I think they must have some kind of like hidden zipper mechanism going on there. As far as the cosplay version goes, this is about as perfect as you need. And of course, in things like the Hot Toys version, which I know is not necessarily screen accurate, you can see that they zip up at the back there. So yeah, these are beautiful, but if you don't want to go for like a real leather set, I've seen templates on things like Etsy where you can make your own out of foam and stuff. I've never worked with foam before. Is it urethane foam? No, it's like, I've forgotten the name of the type of like cosplay, something foam. It'll come to me after I've shot the video, that's annoying. Oh, speaking of foam, there's another cosplayer I follow, Capital Cosplay, who does insane work with foam. So you should definitely go and follow him out, another Aussie guy. Genuinely mind-blowing, the stuff he can create. I think he also sells templates for a lot of his builds and stuff as well. That's a bit of a segue as well, not really connected to the Batman. He might have a Batman. Actually, you know what? I think he does have a Batman armor set on there if you do want to have a go at making your own completely out of foam. I will link that down in the description or up here somewhere. I forget where links show up half the time. But yes, if you don't want to splurge for like buying like a real set of leather, you can have a go with using like a template that's on Etsy or anywhere else. It's also a fairly simple piece. So I mean, if you just went into like a local leather workshop or your local tailor and said, hey, are you able to make me a set of boot covers or boot gaiters? I'm sure they'd look at it and be like, yep, super easy, we can do that for you, no dramas. Or if you're good with a sewing machine and leather, or any kind of fabric really, give it a shot yourself. It can't hurt. I am definitely not skilled enough or talented enough, so I thought I'd let, a professional handle it. But anyway, boot covers, boot spats, boot gaiters, awesome. Moving on. All right, next up, we're talking gloves. Now, let me just whack these on real quick. Now, as far as gloves go, I think the most screen accurate version that you can probably find are these, and I think I'm gonna butcher the name here because I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure they're the Mechanics breacher gloves. Now, the version used in the film, they're modified. They're not identical to these, but as far as like something that's just completely off the shelf, so to speak, these are really, really close. The film one actually, like the thumb is modified. It has like more of a like kind of a striped pattern of sorts going on here. And the fingers as well have been modified in the ones on screen as well, just to kind of add in like, I think the taser finger is actually this one here. And so they've added a bit more. And I think they've you know, modified the palms as well. So, but if you're not looking to like do too much like modifying of your gloves, your mechanics breeches are gonna come really, really close. Now there's also, I've found it a little bit hard to find these anymore, at least on places like Amazon, etc., etc. But if you can't find these exactly, there's still a ton of really, really close options that are out there that are effectively the same thing. So I've actually listed, you know, 3 or 4 suitable alternatives in my beacons link down below. Just because, yeah, gloves are something that it's going to be hard unless you're, again, even if you get these, you've still got to modify them to get them screen accurate if you want to be like absolutely bang on. So the options that I've listed below, I've seen other Batman cosplayers use ones effectively like the ones that I've listed below. Now the actual like bits and pieces on the gloves, so like this is like the wristwatch thing. This is like, I had to like 3D print this part, and I'll get to that where you can get that, and like there's a bit of protective something here. And I just like kind of had these all Velcro on here like that. The same goes for the wristwatch. There's definitely far more accurate versions of these, and I'll come to the whole like 3D printing parts section of this video later on and where you can go to get your files. But yes, these are probably the closest you're gonna get as far as screen accurate gloves, or the alternatives that I've listed below will get you like 90% of the way there and will do you just fine. Moving on. Next up, as we're slowly moving up the suit, I want to talk about the thigh holster. Now, this one is actually a little bit unnoticed, I think, to a lot of people, because it's not hugely heavily featured in the film where, you know, it focuses on the holster. You really only see it a couple of times, and it's mainly in that silhouette shot of him walking out of the flames. And I think after, you know, he jumps off and basically breaks his neck after his flight suit sequence. Now you've actually got a few options for your thigh holster. Initially, when all the behind the scenes, or sorry, when the set photos were coming out before the trailer and everything. So a lot of the fan community identified the holster initially from these behind the scenes, or sorry, set photos as the Condor Tornado, which was for a long time, which is what a lot of people just believed was the screen accurate holster. This isn't actually the Condor Tornado. I'm just, you know, using it to wave around while I talk to you guys. But then after a little bit more time had passed, some very keen-eyed fans, again over on the RPF, actually discovered that the screen used one was, and I cannot for the life of me remember the name of it, but it's the something or other Viper something, which is very specific to, I think, England and or London, like it's just produced there. So if you live in the UK, it should be really easy to get a hold of. But both the Condor Tornado and that other one were both pretty tricky to get shipped to Australia. So I initially just picked up the cheapest holster that I could find on Amazon. And I've listed a bunch of really similar options down below, just because it's something that is so infrequently seen effectively that not a lot of people are really gonna point out the holster and be like, that's the wrong holster. Yeah, so I just basically picked up a cheap one, beat the absolute crap out of it just to kind of weather it and scuff it and scrape it up. Now, the only problem was that the straps as part of this holster, they were wrong. So they were just plain black. And on the actual suit, they are these like gray striped ones that I think are pretty crucial to like tying together the look of the Batsuit. So what I actually ended up having to do at the time, which you don't have to do anymore, because I think a few of the options, if not most of them that I've listed in the links below, they actually already come with this like black and gray kind of, it's like, I don't really know what you kind of call this kind of webbing effectively, but it's like the gray part is actually like, it's like a rubber. So it's almost like it helps it, I don't know, stick or sit in place, I don't know. But yeah, a lot of the options I've listed below already have that included, but when I initially got it, I had to buy like a separate Condor product for a lot cheaper than I could find the Condor Tornado at the time, and basically cannibalized the straps off of it and stuck them onto this one here. I mean, for all intents and purposes, again, it's not the Condor Tornado, it's not the Viper, whatever, but it looks the real deal. So that's all that really mattered to me. I know, it's not screen accurate, I know, sue me. But yeah, Ton of options down below for you to choose from, or just, you know, search black holster and you'll be able to find something that, you know, will sort you out absolutely perfectly. Now, while we are on the topic of the holster, I should probably talk about this bad boy right here. And this is kind of broken at the moment because I think I fell off of something, and I think during the same time, or at least the same night where I broke my other gauntlets is the same time I broke this. This isn't seen in the film at all, except for just, you know, loosely poking out of his holster, which again, we don't see all that much in the film. So much so that, like, when I've had videos of this posted on TikTok, a lot of people have been like, oh, the Batman doesn't carry a gun. Why is Batman strapped? Yada, yada, yada. No, it's not a gun. It's actually what he uses to launch, at least within the lore and what the costume designers have said in behind the scenes. The little canisters that he does have in his belt, that he does use at the end of the film, but in theory and behind the scenes, the costume team always had in mind or envisioned that this one right here could actually launch those to, you know, wherever he wanted it.
And then we have sticky bombs, so they can either be placed and set by hand, or they can be fired from this cartridge here.
And my headcanon is that in that final scene where he has to drop in on all the Riddler goons at Gotham Square, my headcanon is that this is how he was able to rig the roof so quickly to be able to, like, and, you know, land in on everyone. Because there's no way he was walking around one at a time going 1, 2, 3. No way. I reckon this is how he did it. But yes, this was 3D printed as well in resin. Of course, the problem with resin, no matter how tough it is subject to breaking. Then again, it did take a pretty hard fall, so that is 100% on me. But this is a beautiful file for this particular prop. I'm sorry, I'm trying my best here to hold this together while I show you. Beautiful, beautiful prop. This is from Big Fred Customs, which is available over on his Etsy, I believe. If it's not, maybe just shoot him a DM. Sometimes makers have to take stuff down for a bunch of legal reasons. As far as painting this goes, I actually followed Cosplay Chris's tutorial on this, which was absolutely banging. So he does a video on where he's painting up a grapple gun of this, and I was just like, damn, that actually looks so good. I am not gonna show you guys how I painted this because Cosplay Chris has already done a fantastic video on it. Awesome piece. When it's not broken, even when it's broken, you know, you could still probably club someone with it.
Wait! We can still use them as clubs!
Then again, I'm not actually out there fighting crime, so we don't need to worry about that.
Sorry. Effective though.
Next up, let's talk about the belt. Now, the belt is actually a little bit complicated just because there's a lot of pieces to it, and if you want to go screen accurate, there's just kind of a lot to take in. And I honestly think trying to go screen accurate with the belt is probably just going to hurt you more than anything. If you can do it, absolutely amazing, go for it. It's a little bit tricky to source all the pouches identically to the film. At least it was in my case. Again, living in Australia, sometimes it's hard to get a lot of stuff that's more freely available in the US, especially because a lot of these pouches are they're either like ammo pouches or like magazine pouches, things like that. And just because Australia doesn't have as big a gun culture here compared to like the US especially, it's a lot harder to like ship in a lot of this stuff. It's mainly just expensive. You can ship it in, it's just really, really expensive. So keep that in mind if you are trying to piece this together and you are outside of the US. It's usually a lot easier to just go for a local alternative, which is what I have done in my case. I'll just take you up a lot closer. All right, so I guess I'll start with like the base. I'm sorry as well, like showing you this on the mannequin, it's gonna be a little bit hard because it's once it's on the mannequin, it's actually really hard to get it off. But the base belt actually, which you can kind of see here, it's like just this basket weave Roco tactical belt. These are super easy to get a hold of, super cheap, reasonably at least, and it's a really good option for like your base belt. There's a couple of other options on there as well if like the Roco tactical isn't available in wherever you're located. I've listed a few more really good options down in the description. Now the belt buckle, I got super, super lucky with this one here. Multiverse Replicas over on Instagram was actually doing a limited run of like a functional metal buckle. And you can see how it fits together over on my full suit up video. It functions like a real buckle. It has like a mechanism that actually lets it like close in the middle. So yeah, you can kind of see in there, it's kind of hard without me taking it on and off. It's made of stainless steel and some 3D printed parts. But if you can't get a metal buckle, which I think is pretty hard these days, 3D printing your buckle is honestly probably gonna be a lot easier in a lot of cases, because as cool as it is having a functional buckle, in a lot of cases, it's, especially when I'm trying to put this on and off, it can be a little bit more annoying than anything, as opposed to just having like, say you 3D print your buckle and you have your belt set up to like connect up at the back rather than the front. It would just be so much easier to Velcro, just stick the whole front of the belt onto the suit, which you can do with Velcro, just attach Velcro to the back of your belt, again, which you can see in my suit up video, and just stick it on the front, do it up at the back. Honestly, a lot easier. So don't stress if you can't get a functional buckle. A lot of the 3D printed ones do like an amazingly perfect job. And I'm gonna put some links down below. I think Big Fred Customs has a version of this, as well as like DO3D, or DO3D, I always forget the name of those guys. Aztec 3D Studios might have one. You'll have to double check, I'll link it down below. I can't remember. But yes, there's lots of Batman belt buckle files out there if you just, Google the Batman belt. Heaps of files out there to choose from if you want to 3D print your own. The same goes for like your canister, for the little smoke canister things that he uses at the end of the film. I've kind of got mine duct taped in here at the moment just because I was, jumping around in the suit recently and I didn't want them to fall out. But they do actually come out and they slide in and out of there really nicely. This one as well, I got this canister in conjunction with the belt buckle. So this was from Multiverse Replicas. But again, these files exist. Big Fred Customs also has, I think I bought the file for this as well, but I never ended up getting it printed, but I think it's virtually identical to this one, I'm pretty sure. Now, belt pouches. There's a lot to take in here. So like on the actual suit, this is like a double magazine pouch, and it's not accurate to the film at all. The one in the actual film is like a basket weave, something or other, that I had a really hard time getting sourced to Australia without, really expensive costs. Same goes for this one here. Couldn't find the right pouch in Australia cheaply. It's like some kind of phone pouch or whatever, so I ended up just purchasing what is effectively, it's like a handcuff. Oh, there's some clips in there at the moment, but it's effectively a handcuff pouch, which effectively looked close enough. Oh, is that gonna do back up? Yeah, it effectively looked close enough to the real thing that I was happy with it. And of course, then there's just like a little, what do you call it? Flashlight ring here that he has on there, on this side here. And then I don't have it on there at the moment because the mannequin made it too hard with like the arm being here. There is another pouch that's supposed to be on the side here. And it's called like I think it's like a Bianchi, blah, 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 I don't know how to say it. I can't even remember the name of it. It's like a little double mag speed loader pouch, something or other. I'll be throwing all this up on the screen and linking it as closely as I can down below. And so yeah, Batman wears that on the side here. I could not for the life of me find a pouch that looked right or even came close. So I ended up just getting, I think I've got it stuck on the back here somewhere. I'll find it, it's somewhere. It's basically just a single pouch just an extra one that I threw on there because I was like, well, I want to put something there so that it at least kind of fills out the same amount of space as the screen accurate suit. And then at the very, very back of the suit, there is a bunch of stuff as well that I don't have on my suit. So yeah, back here, I've got nothing back here, but in the actual film, there's a bunch of extra pouches and things that he does have filling out that space. He's got like his flare holder and some other equipment there, but given that I knew no one was ever really gonna be looking at the back of the suit, I didn't really bother with it. If you wanna do it, by all means, give it a crack. I think it would be awesome if you can reach the highest level of screen accuracy as possible. But for me, it just wasn't really in the budget given that I already had such a hard time throwing the belt together as is. Oh, one thing I did forget though. This little triangle ring here, I couldn't find one identical to the film. Like you can get these 3D printed and then you can get them so that they look identical to the film. They come with a lot of these kits like done by Big Fred Customs or Aztec 3D Studios or these guys, but you can find these little triangle rings on Amazon in different sizes. And I thought this fit, fine enough for what I was after. So I just kind of purchased one of these and whacked it on there. And a link for those is down in the description as well, along with some other very suitable pouches that I think will do you guys just fine. I think a lot of the pouches that I have linked are far more accurate than what I've got on here. It's just at the time of assembling it. Yeah, that's just all I could get my hands on. Alrighty, next up we are talking gauntlets. Now, the gauntlets are something that initially I actually 3D printed myself, and I'm pretty sure the file that I used was from Big Fred Customs. He has a beautiful Batman inspired set of these. If you don't want to mess around with making your own, this is a beautiful, beautiful set that I actually was able to get a hold of from the Nightforge, who does a lot of really, really beautiful Batman inspired pieces. So if you're looking for, you know, armor, cowls even, I'm pretty sure the Nightforge is able to sort you out. I'll leave a link to him down below. But yeah, this is a beautifully created set. It's 3D printed, I believe, a lot of it, but then, you know, it's also got like real fabric elements in it as well. And I think these tips here, these are actually, they're metal as well, which is really, really cool. There's also some urethane rubber elements to it as well, which is really, really nice. And these just, yeah, they open up beautifully. They go on, and there's some Velcro I attached on the inside here to help them attach to the flight suit. If you want to check out my process behind that one, it was just a really simple video. I'll leave a link to it up here somewhere. So I can definitely recommend the Nightforge's work on these ones here. Now, if you want to have a go at making these yourself, you absolutely can. So this is my first set that I've got on the mannequin at the moment. These were all 3D printed. So this is actually a really, really cool file to work with. Everything is like, all the details are really, really beautifully done as well. I couldn't find the right fabric that I wanted for like the fins here, so I was able to like 3D print them. It does mean they're solid though, which means the other set that I held, the other gauntlet actually did snap eventually, but that's because I like fell off. I tripped on, I was climbing up some railing thing and I tripped and my thing came down on it. Anyway, yes, these are a little bit fiddly to assemble once I had all the parts 3D printed, just because, you know, there's a lot of fine details. So they don't fit perfectly on my mannequin here because they don't really do up. Is this gonna let me move the arm? Yes, it is. Let me just jump underneath here for a second. I'm sorry I can't show you this very well just because it's on the mannequin at the moment, but it's got the grapple gun on there, which is really nice. But yes, if you want to check out a comparison of the set that I was able to 3D print and prep myself, as opposed to the ones that I had made from the Nightforge, check out this video here because that details the differences pretty well. I mean, they're both effectively the same. They're the same item. I think they were both slightly different files. I'm pretty sure the Nightforge's file is actually from Aztec 3D Studios. But yes, if you want to have a go at printing your own, definitely check out the files from either Aztec 3D Studios or Big Fred Customs. Both really, really beautiful files. Couldn't recommend them both highly enough. Okay, so now is probably a really good time to touch on 3D printing as a whole. So when I first set out to like create the suit, I initially had in my mind that I was gonna get myself a 3D printer and teach myself how to 3D print and do everything from scratch. And then I very quickly realized that that was not gonna be an option for me, just given my current living arrangements, budget constraints. I say that like I haven't already pumped like multiple thousands of dollars into the suit. But regardless of that, yes, 3D printing has a bit of a steep, or not steep, but it has a learning curve at least. And it was just something I wasn't gonna be able to dedicate the time to get the results that I wanted. And then there's often, you know, then there's like filament printing versus resin printing. And obviously if you're doing filament printing, there's more finishing work required. And I didn't really have the space available to be sanding and painting multiple things back and forth. And so it just became a lot easier to actually send all my 3D files off to CraftCloud, who are a really good middleman effectively. Like if you are unable to 3D print your own stuff, CraftCloud has been great. You can upload your files, you can get a quote, and then you can choose the best option that works for you. So if you don't know how to 3D print or you can't 3D print, don't let that deter you. Although do keep in mind that CraftCloud, I think, is going to be more expensive overall than if you can just do it yourself, or if you have a mate that knows how to 3D print, definitely get them involved in it because it's going to save you a bit of money. CraftCloud can be a bit expensive, but it just was more of a convenience thing for me, especially when I needed stuff like resin printing done, because I just preferred just that cleaner finish. It saved me having to do a bunch of sanding work on all my pieces. Don't let the fact that you don't have a 3D printer deter you from doing any of this stuff. And as I mentioned before, there's also, I'll link to some like amazing foam template builds if you want to try and build this suit yourself without having to go through all the, you know, the 3D printing and the suppliers and the makers and all that. It is definitely something you can do all with your own hands if you wanted to. That is how I wanted to approach it at first, doing everything completely from scratch and sewing the base suit and just, you know, Tony Starking that shit effectively. But yeah, very quickly realized I'm not Tony Stark. I cannot build this in a cave with a box of scraps. So yes, here we are. I rely on the help of a lot of very, very talented makers, artists, and all this other stuff. So, all right, now let's talk about one of the kind of main big pieces of the suit that you're gonna need, and that's the base flight suit the base suit, the undersuit, again, a bunch of different names for it. I think the term flight suit mainly came from the fact that in the film, it turns into that flight suit that we do see. And then that name kind of just stuck amongst, I think, like the RPF community and the cosplay communities and things like that. So whatever you like to call it, the base suit, the undersuit, the flight suit, whatever. It's here. This one was so beautifully created for me by Napier's Ink. Napier's Ink, hang on. I always forget how to pronounce it. So they do amazing, amazing fabric work. Actually, I think it's just one guy, actually, Bruce. Anyway, so yes, he was able to create this one for me, which is just an absolutely stunning recreation of what we see in the film. And yes, I could not recommend this enough. It was beautifully weathered, beautifully textured, everything about it was just absolutely perfect. Now, given that Bruce is just a one-man show, this did take a little bit of time to come, and whether or not he is still making these or offering these, I'm not sure. A lot of these makers often go through cycles where they can only offer a very limited run of things for a very short period of time. That's not to say that you couldn't still get this. It's just that you'd have to reach out and just inquire. But there's still a lot of options out there if you want something like this. Now, an alternative option to something like Napier's, which is very like high end, is white sheep leather. They also do a really beautiful flight suit or an undersuit for a slightly lower price point, I think, and it might be more freely available, I think, than from something like Napier's, who, just because again, Bruce is just a one-man operation, I believe. White sheep leather is going to be able to get your suit out to you much, much quicker. Makers like, again, Napier's, absolutely incredible craftsmanship, but again, just being the nature of just being a one-man show, your timelines for delivery are a lot longer, so you've got to keep that in mind when you're thinking and weighing up your options in terms of how quickly do you need your suit, are you happy to wait, pricing, budgets, all that kind of thing. I can't say for sure how much any of this costs because it's going to depend on where you live, shipping, any extras or additional items that you get with the suit. Because in my case, there was some armor pieces, which I will cover in a second, that I had thrown on top of mine, which then, you know, changed the pricing and everything. Also, I'm pretty sure John Ninko of Ninko Creations actually also offers a flight suit as well. Sorry, I'm just remembering this now. Effectively, again, another really, really beautiful option if you are looking for an alternative. And I know that another Australian cosplay here, Cosplay J, has the Ninko Creations suit. So if you want to get a closer look at that, go and check out Cosplay J. Yeah, so I think the big three for getting like a flight suit would be Napier's Ink, Ninko Creations, or white sheep leather. If there's any others that you guys are aware of, please let me know. They're just the main three that come to mind for me at the moment. There's probably others out there. I'm really sorry if I'm leaving any incredible makers off the list here. I'm going off my own personal experiences with what I have researched amongst my time throwing this together. Now, let's start talking about armor. We're getting real exciting here. The base flight suit, all this is built in as like part of like the undersuit fabric. It's got some nice kind of solid fabric pieces here, like kind of made of foam. Like, I think it's just like foam underneath the fabric. I'm not sure. It's not technically armor pieces. Like these parts, so like your chest, your shoulders, and your biceps, they're all like separate armor pieces. I got super lucky with this in that when I was in the process of getting my flight suit made, Bruce of Napier's was able to be like, hey, I'm doing a run of some urethane armor. Do you want to get in on that? And I was like, absolutely. That saves me having to 3D print it myself, because that was my initial plan. I was going to use files either from, I think the main files I was looking at for my armor were from Aztec 3D Studios. I'm not 100% sure which file Bruce has used to mold his urethane armor on. It could have been a custom file of his own, but yeah, I got super lucky in that, yeah, this is flexible and this is movable. The same goes for the shoulders and the biceps, which in another video I show, they're actually like a fabric piece, and you can see that in my full suit up video, how they like kind of wrap around and put on. But as far as getting like this flexible urethane armor goes, I'm not 100% sure who, if anyone, offers this at the moment. I think I just got super lucky in this first run of this. That being said, you can 3D print this stuff, no dramas. It's just that it's not going to have the same flexibility as something, yeah, made of rubber. effectively. And I want to do another video coming up soon where I recreate all the armor from scratch, and I go with my initial plan where I had it all 3D printed and I finish it and paint it. So I figured I might as well, you know, turn that into a video where I show you guys the process of creating the armor pieces from scratch. I say from scratch loosely because I would have, again, I'd use Craft Cloud to get it 3D printed, but more of just a like fun little tutorial for you guys. A few options for you if you want to get your own armor sets. If you want to 3D print your own, I would definitely recommend artists or 3D artists like Aztec 3D Studios or Big Fred Customs, even DOD 3D, I think is the name. Again, I always forget the name of that website. They have some file options for you that you can 3D print yourself or send off to Craft Cloud. If you're looking to acquire just like pre-made stuff, I think it's probably worth reaching out to the Nightforge or Ninko Creations, and they're definitely going to be able to help you out. There might be a few other people out there in the cosplay community that can help you out, so it's definitely worth just kind of trawling through Instagram. The RPF, again, I cannot recommend the RPF enough as like a resource. Super helpful. There's a lot of options out there for armor creation, and I'll link, again, a lot of that stuff in the description down below. But yeah, the actual chest piece in the film, for a lot of the filming, I believe, it actually was made of urethane rubber. So it just is an incredibly detailed urethane rubber cast that actually it hinged in the middle. The production team talk about it in behind the scenes stuff. So that's how Patterson was able to move so flexibly in the suit. I think for like closer up scenes, or like, for example, where you've got Gordon kind of like on the front of it, or Officer Ramirez, was that his name? I think so, where he's like putting his hand on it. Obviously for shots like that, I think they used a hard piece for it and like removing the batarang and all that. But for most of like, while Pattinson's like doing movements and stunts and all that kind of stuff, yeah, rubber that hinged in the middle so that he could like move a bit better. There might be a few extra bits and bobs in there, I'm sure there is, that made it really flexible. I've spent a lot of time watching the Batman, obviously, really looking at the suit and just seeing how much he is able to move in it. And it's actually quite, it feels like it's quite an engineering marvel. I feel like able to have an actor in this many layers, urethane rubber, leather, cowls, and having Pattinson be able to move pretty freely, I think is a pretty impressive feat. And I think Pattinson has actually said that, you know, when he first put on the suit, he was able to just kind of jump around in it really easily, and he was quite surprised at how mobile it was.
The first time I put it on, I mean, I'd been in the Batman Forever Batsuit and realized you are basically a statue in there. And so the first time I put on this Batsuit, there's so much more maneuverability that I was like, oh wow, it's like wearing normal clothes.
So shockingly though, the cosplay version of this, no matter how much time and work you put into it, you're gonna find that it is gonna be a lot stiffer and harder to move in than you would expect. But yeah, also even things like the shoulders, I believe, I'm pretty sure they were also like a firm kind of rubber cast, because in some of the behind the scenes fight footage, you can kind of see, if you've got a really keen eye, like bits like the edges, they do flex and bend a little bit. You'd never notice it in the actual on screen because of the way they filmed it, but in the behind the scenes stuff, if you're looking really closely, you can see it. So yeah, if you are able to get a hold of like urethane rubber casts for your armor, that's gonna make your time in the suit a lot more comfortable, so much easier to move in. The only problem with that is I genuinely don't know who to recommend in terms of getting urethane rubber casts. I know Bruce of Napiers, sorry, I keep butchering the pronunciation. Bruce, if you're watching, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not sure if Bruce is still doing the casts in rubber. You'd have to inquire with him directly. Not 100% sure. If there is anyone else out there you know who does cast Pattinson armor pieces, smash it in the comments below. That way, you know, everyone else can see. Moving on up now to the cowl, which is effectively your crowning jewel, or the crowning jewel of any Batman suit. So this one here is, it's urethane rubber. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get it off the mannequin now that it's on there, because it's all kind of fitted with the cape and everything. So the cowl works best if you can get it all as one consistent model or file or cast. Now what I mean by that is that there's a lot of different files out there that people have like lovingly built off of the Batman cowl. They've looked at the screen one and they've modeled their own ones out there. And there's a bunch of different files out there that you can get a hold of if you want to 3D print your own and then have a go at casting it in urethane yourself, if you have any kind of experience with that. Initially, that's kind of what I thought I wanted to do. As I've mentioned before, I had these big grand plans of doing it all myself from scratch, and very quickly that all came crumbling down. But if you are experienced with casting urethane rubber, or you want to give it a crack, there's lots of tutorials out there to help you get started. It's definitely something you can do because there are base files files that you can work off of. So my cowl, this was very lovingly crafted by Michael over at Hero's Journey Workshop for me. He did an incredible job on it. Whether or not he's still offering this, I'm not sure. Again, you'd have to reach out to makers directly. A lot of the times, as I've mentioned previously, they don't keep these in production constantly. They only kind of can do them on an ad hoc basis, effectively. Michael's a very experienced costume and cosplay designer. He does a lot of urethane rubber work, so he was definitely the man for this job. I believe the file that this one is based off is by Art Deving. Pretty sure, yes, that's the file that all of this was 3D printed and then molded and casted from. And it's genuinely, I think, probably one of the best, almost accurate designs or files out there that is like a beautiful recreation of Pattinson's cowl. That particular Art Deving file comes with like a collar piece and then all the like neck pieces as well. Michael actually did a lot of work on this, I believe, to make it as mobile as possible. The big misconception with Pattinson's cowl is that it's easy to turn your head in because it is all these separate pieces, but that's not actually the case, because as you can see in some of my other previous videos, particularly I'll link this video up top, which gives a really good example of it, how the back of the cowl actually doesn't allow you to, it just kind of sits down my neck too much. And even though it looks like these are all kind of separated, segmented pieces, which they are, it still has to fit together and Velcro together nicely so that it all stays in place and it sits up under my jaw, and that in effect prevents me from being able to turn my head. I've looked at Pattinson's cowl like in behind the scenes stuff and in the film. I genuinely can't quite figure out what they've done to make him be able to turn his head. It's like, it is some sort of urethane, I think, but then it's also parts of it I think are more of a leathery or very thin urethane, as you can see in like behind the scenes stuff like this here. It's very hard to tell. I don't have a line to anyone on the production directly, so if anyone has any more information about how exactly Pattinson was able to turn his head so well, please let us know down below, because it would be something really, really interesting. There is a limit to it though, even within the film. I've noticed that at certain points or at certain ranges of motion, Pattinson has to kind of like start turning his shoulders, and particularly in a couple of fight scenes I've noticed there is a little bit of the like whole full shoulder Keaton turn going on. So while I think there definitely is a bit of head mobility, it's still not perfect. Like, you're never gonna get as good head mobility as something like in The Dark Knight, where you had the head helmet piece as like, it kind of basically came right up under the jaw, which would give, an actor like Bale, for example, full range of motion with the neck. I think it works fine for Pattinson. I think they did an incredible job with the cowl, having it be as functional as possible. The reason I'm yapping on so much about mobility is because I think that was the biggest shock to me, is that once I finally had all the suit pieces assembled and I had it on, I was like, wow, this is actually really, really hard to move in. I don't know how Pattinson's out there rolling around, jumping around in a suit is effectively, not one for one, but it's pretty close. I was just like, I'm kind of in awe of the costume design team that they've been able to give him as much mobility as they have. So yes, if you're going into this, keep in mind, this is gonna be uncomfortable, it's gonna be hot. There's a bunch of other files out there as well if you wanna have a go at 3D printing your own cowl. I initially set out to do all my armor and the whole suit, I wanted to design it and base it off of the DO3D file that they had, which is like the full suit. It's not the most screen accurate thing in the world because it came out, they might have updated it since, I'm not sure, but when that file was first released, it was still fairly fresh, like the film had only just come out, so it's not 100%, as perfect as things that have been created and worked on by artists since. I think Aztec 3D Designs might also have a cowl, I've got to double check. Alrighty, so I will turn this guy around and I'll give you guys a look at the cape now. Oh my gosh, the leg just came off. All right, so the cape. The cape is honestly probably one of my favorite things about this suit ever, especially this cape in particular. This one was beautifully created by Ninko Creations again. So Ninko did my boot spats. This thing is just, as far as capes go, it's perfect. Initially, I thought about going the really cheap, the really efficient route, which was basically just going to like my local fabric shop and trying to find something that looked like a fake leather and just kind of, just makeshifting something on, just, wrapping it around the neck, calling it a day. But I looked at what Ninko was doing with his cape and I was like, wow, this actually looks really impressive. Like it has, and I'll give you a proper like pan down of it, but it has all the like actual pleats in it as well, and it's double lined. So effectively on one side, you've got this fake kind of leather look to it, but then on the underside, it's this kind of textured, I don't know if you guys can see this very well, on camera, but it's this kind of textured underside. It's just really beautiful. And then here's that leather up close as well. This thing is gorgeous. It's absolutely huge as well though, which is what you want because the cape needs to kind of billow out when it blows in the wind. John Ninko did an incredible job with this. One of the incredible things about this cape as well is that it looks heavy, like it has like a nice bit of weight to it, but also if you look in some of this footage here, it blows in the wind really, really nicely. So it looks heavy, but it's actually quite light given the size and the amount of material that's pumped into this thing. Oh, also while I'm here, yes, back of the cowl. Again, just stunningly beautiful work here based on that file by Art Deving that was done by Michael over at Hero's Journey Workshop. Yeah, so the cape, if you are looking for a cape, think Leather Fashion Valley or White Sheep Leather. One of them, again, I get them mixed up, I'm sorry. One of those guys also does a Batman cape. I think their cape is a tiny bit heavier based on just a little bit of stuff I've seen people talk about online. That's not to say it's a bad cape at all, but it depends. Like if you want something that has a nice bit of heft to it and is a little bit more budget friendly, I think the White Sheep Leather or Leather Fashion Valley one will be much better suited to you. Now, if you want to have a go at making your own cape, I am not currently aware of any like templates that exist. So if you wanted to like get some fabric of your own and make one, off the top of my head, and even after a little bit of research, I couldn't find any The Batman specific cape templates. There's a lot of Batman cape templates out there, but whether or not they're accurate enough to portray this type of cape, I'm not sure. As I mentioned before with the boot covers, if you take like photos or reference images to like a local tailor or leather worker or something like that and showed them, they could probably figure it out for you, and it might honestly be cheaper than trying to sort of like buy something from one of these makers once shipping and stuff is factored in. So if you can get it done by someone locally, that's gonna help you out a lot. But yeah, let me get some wide shots of this for you. So if I pull this out here, like that's only half of it. Like the cape is huge. And just to give you a sense of like the weight and the feel of it, I'll just like pick it up. Like it is such a beautifully made cape. Like the motion of it and the heft and the billow, it's just, yeah, it's really, really impressive. Let's see if I can do like the whole thing all the way out. I don't think I'm gonna be able to unless I like, this is not gonna work at all, but if I throw it up and then run out of the shot, just because I want to give you a sense of like the full span of it, but then not also be covering the shot.
Oh my God. Oh, hell.
I don't know if that worked at all. I will check that out in the edit. The cape's massive, it's perfect, it's beautiful. If you need a cape, I couldn't recommend John Ninko's work enough. So it's just beautiful all round. Alrighty, I think that just about covers it. I'm sure I'm gonna be, sitting in the edit, or I'm gonna have posted this and there's gonna be several other things where I've been like, I wish I had spoken about that. But more than anything else, I really hope this has just helped you guys get a better sense of how you can go about creating something like this yourself. Yes, it takes a lot of work. Yes, there is a lot of patience involved. There's definitely a lot of budget concerns to consider. Now, if that is the case, I don't want to deter you guys from getting into this because of course you don't have to throw this together all at once. I personally pieced this together over an 18-month period. So in order to not just completely drain my bank account all at once, because once all of these pieces add up, once you've got, all your parts from Amazon or eBay, or you've contacted makers directly, it does get pretty pricey pretty quickly. So don't feel like you have to rush this. Take your time with it. Make sure you enjoy the process, because more than anything else, I think that's what cosplay is all about. If you're having fun, then you're doing it right. If you're not having fun, maybe just, take a step back, take a breath, and just get yourself into a better mind space where, you can have fun with it, because that is the whole point of this. At the end of the day, don't take it too seriously. Unless you're actually out there trying to be Batman, which I don't condone unless, you are a billionaire or something, in which case go for it. If there's anything that I haven't answered for you, please let me know down in the comments below and I'll get back to you down there. Hopefully it's just shed a little bit more light on the process so that if you do want to have a go at tackling a suit build like this yourself, I want to give you effectively the confidence to go out, give it a crack, because you absolutely can do this. I had no experience going into this, no costuming experience, no cosplay experience, and I thought, hey, let's give it a shot. And 2 years later, here we are. So it's definitely possible. So keep going. I want to encourage you. If you want to do this or any other type of cosplay, please stick at it. It is well worth it. If you have enjoyed this video or gotten anything out of it at all, please hit that subscribe button and the like button for me. It helps me out a ton. I've got some really, really awesome stuff coming up really soon. So if you don't want to miss that as well, definitely well worth keeping your eye on my channel. I'm incredibly active over on Instagram as well, so if you want to go follow me over there, you can see all my Batsuit photo shoot stuff. Most of that is posted over there. I'm very, very active. More than anything else, guys, I appreciate each and every one of you who watches my content. I do this all for you guys. So wherever you are in the world, I hope you have an awesome rest of your day, evening, week, month, year, whatever. Go out there and smash it, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.